just re-elected in precinct 6. And I'm going to pass the mic down and our other chairs can introduce themselves.
I see your uniform.
Hi everyone, April Wilmar, Chair of Precinct 7.
Hi, Christy Gorelli, Chair of Precinct 5.
Jim Driscoll, Chair, District 4.
Molly Uppenkamp, Chair of Precinct 3.
Jim Sullivan, Chair of Precinct 2.
And Meg Duncan, Chair of Precinct 1.
Some laughs tonight. So really our role up here for tonight is just to elect our chair and vice chair of chairs. But before I do that, I did want to thank our finance and warrant members who came to each of our meetings. I think it was very, very helpful. You do a lot of work, and we appreciate it. And after our vote, we are going to have 2 presentations. Jeremy Rosenberger from the Planning Board, and we're going to have a presentation regarding an update on the town green. But we're going to get our role done first. So first up, we vote for our chair of chairs.
So Jean is currently the Chair of Chairs. She's done a really great job at many town meetings the last couple years, and I'd like to nominate Jean again.
Okay, it's been seconded, so take a vote. All in favor? Against? Okay, well, I think the majority rules. So thank you, everybody. And we have vice chair. So I'll take nominations for vice chair of chairs. I will nominate April Wilmar. She's held the role also and done an excellent job. So nominate April. It's been seconded. Any other nominations? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, congratulations. April is the vice chair. And I think we can end our role here, and we'll have an introduction of our speakers. This is to have some updates on some articles we have voted for in the past and to see where they stand. And our MC of that, and a person who has organized it all.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I'm Bob Laporto, Vice Chair, P5, and I help organize the updates here for this reorg. And so I'm going to have Jeremy Rosenberg go first. He's going to give us updates on past planning board articles, and then we're going to have an update on the town green. Here's Jeremy.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for indulging me. I won't be too long. And thank you for having me to this. So, as Bob said, Jeremy Rosenberger, Planning Director for the Planning, Zoning, Natural and Resources Department. Just want to provide about 5 minutes of past zoning articles. You probably noticed that your warrant articles, well, I don't know if you've gotten them yet, but they're going to be a little lighter. And you can say thanks to maybe less zoning articles, and definitely no sign code in this one. If you remember, that was a good 30 pages. So we've cut costs this time, but rest assured, I'm sure we'll have some more coming. But as you probably know, we've had a number of articles, some very important ones over the past couple of years, and I just want to provide an update on some of those as a reminder of all your great work. And I believe all of these have passed, and most of them all unanimously. So going way back to fall 2020, I don't like to use that year, but fall 2020, there was a lot of important things happen. Consider a number of zoning articles put forth by the planning board. I want to talk about 3. The first that town meeting approved was a planned residential development for 26 single-family homes off Louder Street. Those of you in Precinct 1 or have been over there have probably seen that area. under construction for a while. This was a project by Old Grove Partners, LLC. So currently they're in the first phase of 12 dwellings being constructed, or I believe half of them are now occupied. And not surprisingly, and as you probably know, Dedham, these brand new single-family homes of about 2,400 square feet, 2,500 square feet have sold very quickly. And if you take a trip up there, you'll see folks, new Dedhamites, that have come to town. Also approved at fall 2020 town meeting were zoning changes to mixed-use developments, namely developments that provide commercial uses on the first floor and residences above on the. Some important changes, it might sound minor, but actually from a design have a big impact, was that upper stories would have to be set back 10 feet to reduce the massing of these buildings, and I think that's most evident when you take a trip to Riverdale down Bridge Street, the 80 Bridge Street, the brick building that's adjacent to Mosley's actually has that setback, and it really does reduce the massing. And so that was one that town meeting approved, that planning board put forth. And another important one was architectural peer review. And again, this sounds, technical, but what it requires is having a third-party expert paid for by the consultant and under the auspice of the town and planning board to take a look at large projects at the planning board's beck and call, and making sure that the design of these buildings fit in the context and are designed as best as they can for Dedham. Two projects that went through this most recently was a 294 unit project over at 124 Quabish Road. Those of you not familiar with Quabish Road is that's adjacent to that's off Legacy Boulevard and adjacent to Whole Foods. That project hasn't moved forward, and as you probably know, financing and construction and a lot of the unforeseen and currently escalating costs for building has stalled it a bit, but I know the developer does want to build this project. And that went through design review. And also right now, off of Sturgis Way, also off Legacy Boulevard, is a 154 unit project put forth by Nordland Companies that has gone through peer review also. In the end, producing better design buildings for this town. Lastly, at fall 2020 meeting, town meeting adopted new zoning regulations to provide affordable housing units for mixed use and age restricted developments. Since adoption in 2020, 53 units of affordable housing have been constructed or approved by the planning board to provide greater diversity of housing accommodations to meet the needs of Dedham residents. This was a big and very important article that you all passed, and I thank you for that. Fast forward to fall 2022 town meeting, two important zoning regulations were approved by town meeting members, again submitted by the planning board. The first was to eliminate the time and expense of obtaining a special permit for restaurant use, which research showed that basically every special permit for the past 5 to 8 years by the Zoning Board of Appeals, who regulates these, had been approved. And as you all probably know, restaurants are no walk in the park trying to get them open. Variety of permits, boards, fees, and not to mention money is required for these. So anything that this town can do to reduce that burden, and as you know, I don't know if you ever saw on NBC 10, there was a video done on the excellent dining scene that we have here, which keeps growing. And two recent restaurants that have taken advantage of this by right, instead of having to get a special permit, they get a by right. They can do a by right, or Kelly's Roast Beef, which I'm sure you've all been to, and also soon to open, which you haven't been to, was Milty Way in the Marine Rotary. That's taken the place of the former liquor store, and this is the first national location for Milty Way. They do grilled cheeses and salads, if you can believe in mix. But they'll be opening at Marine Rotary, and they're actually based out of Utah, and so this is their first location outside of Utah. So I hope we all welcome them, and again, they were able to open by right. So this is an important thing to help economic development and continue what is great, all the great restaurants, both large, small, and medium here in the town of Dedham. Also at this town meeting in 2022, a zoning amendment to spur economic development by attracting investment from the life science industry was approved. Since town meeting, as you probably know, the life science industry has mostly paused new buildings in the Boston region. There was a tear, basically, of almost 10 years of non-stop building of life science buildings, and folks are wondering, when is this going to stop? Well, it's taken a pause. But however, folks in the industry feel it's a pause. It hasn't declined, thankfully, and we're the Boston region is the global leader. For those of you that work in the life science industry, you know that those that do, that it will come back, and hopefully that Dedham will actually be considered for some of these companies to potentially locate here in the town of Dedham. Spring 2023 brought us 2 more important zoning articles by the planning board, which were overwhelmingly approved by town meeting members. The first approved was to regulate electrical vehicle charging stations, which were unregulated. Due to this adoption of these new regulations, homeowners, businesses, and Dedham town departments have clarity regarding the installation of these EV charging stations. And you probably noticed some new Tesla level 3 charging stations at Ocean State, soon to be open for the public. It is important to note that these charging stations are also a source of economic development. Folks, when they're looking for these, will come, and it takes 20, 30 minutes sometimes to charge, and these folks are very likely that they're going to be spending some of their local money while they wait. Also approved was the establishment of a new multifamily overlay district centered around the MBTA Dedham Corporate Center in order to comply with the state's MBTA communities legislation. You've probably heard this and seen this on the front pages, this MBTA communities. The legislation requires that a multifamily housing zoning district be primarily located within half a mile of an MBTA commuter rail station, Dedham Corporate Center, and that based on Dedham's population, that zoning district, which will provide by right multifamily housing, must contain 1,569 apartments, condos, or townhomes. And as we talked about MBTA communities, no surprise, it's been a bit contentious in the state. We know a couple municipalities are putting their foot down and rejecting the legislation. I'm happy to state that the planning board, in collaboration with the select board and you, the Dedham community, conducted an open, transparent community process, and these regulations were passed locally without controversy. Right now, the local regulations are at the state. The state actually has a final sign-off, and we are sure that those will be approved at the state, and will be, again, probably within the top 5 communities that have actually passed this all the way through and have the state sign off. And so thanks to you, and this was an article that was unanimously passed by town meeting in 2023. And then most recently in fall of 2023, just last fall, town meeting approved a zoning article to rezone portions of certain lots along Bridge Street, namely the Mosley's property and the parking lot. As a result of this rezoning, a proposed new mixed-use development on both sides. Right now, it's probably a little more than 80 units, plus or minus, still going through the community process with Riverdale, and then we'll have to go through the planning board. But nonetheless, these zoning efforts have allowed and will provide more flexibility for developments on these properties to meet guidelines, development guidelines and setback guidelines that are currently being developed for the Bridge Street corridor. So it's a lot, and there's even more that you've done, and so you get the fall off when it comes to zoning articles, but I'm sure we'll have potentially more for the fall, and if not in the spring of 2025. So thank you, Bob, and thank you, town meeting members, and congratulations to all that newly elected or re-elected folks. Thank you.
All right, back again. I wanted to introduce Tara from the Town Green Committee, working group, not committee, working group, and she's going to give us an update on that Town Green. I'm excited.
So Tara Aikenoy, I'm on the Town Green Working Group. I'm here with Micah Flynn as well, and I'm not sure if Mr. Polito is here as well, but and I'll keep it brief because I know there's a Celtics game. So basically, the most exciting news is that the town signed a contract with Onyx Landscaping. I think it's Onyx, just in like the last couple weeks, and construction's going to start within the month. And right now the plan is that it'll be completed, the town green will be completed by December or January of 2025. December 2024 or January 2025. That's kind of all the update that I have. If there's any questions. Oh, yeah, sorry, that's the other thing. The town is working on a groundbreaking ceremony. They're working on scheduling that with, the folks and the stakeholders and the donors and things, but that'll happen in the next few weeks. It just has not been scheduled yet.
Thank you for everyone sticking around, and that's all we have for the evening, and have a good night.